All right, we're checking in. About to begin here pretty soon here on the live feed, or just bump. If I could stop bumping into the microphone stand, I'll be fine. If I can just do that. Where's my drink? I was drinking something earlier. Having a little bit of coffee, cold coffee this afternoon here, and I streamed earlier, but took a bit of a break and decided to return to advance this discussion that, well, it seems to be growing wings, at least from the standpoint of the discussion post that popped up and that I actually uh, reciprocated through and was talking, which is uncommon for me to really engage in random conversation with strangers. You know, let me see here. The topic um, that was brought up earlier today had to do with, and it was involving the incident involving the death of and the slaying of Nipsey Hussle and the presence of other two victims that were there. And not that I purposely go into, I'm very selective as far as the conversations I choose to involve myself in because, you're dealing with people in a public forum that you don't know personally and you don't know what their motives might be as far as just, just having a conversation, but I'm not reading into it all that much. I've gradually decided just to say what it is I have to say and say my piece and be done with it. I'm not here to really prove my point with anybody. I'm not here to prove any point with any strangers, most especially. But the only commonality here is that we're on the same social media group page. And if allowed, well, I'm going to read some of the comments. I'm going to actually paraphrase them and try my best not to offer up exact quotes, right? Because people seem to have some misunderstandings about how things work, especially when you're dealing with governmental entities, especially involving the administration of rules, statutes, policies, guidelines, and that. Just to recap, this conversation had to do with a man who was in the company of Nipsey Hussle prior to the shooting um, situation, the shooting that happened. And this is from thefader.com, spelled like it sounds, thefader.com, and the tagline being, the man Nipsey Hussle was buying clothes for during the fatal attack has been arrested for associating with the rapper. Now, as it's been known, and as he has said himself, I believe that he's affiliated, associated, a member of a particular street gang. It's known. It's safe to say that is an established fact. It's also safe to say that it's documented by a governmental entity, that governmental entity being law enforcement. And as a result of that, I'm sure his shop has been monitored. He's been, on previous occasions, the police came by the store and hassled them and whatnot. And obviously, they have been on the radar for years. The Marathon store right there on Slauson and Crenshaw. It just so happens that although it was such a valiant effort to basically just help out a homie, right? To help someone out, get them back on their feet after a stint in prison. But the information that's come out involving a person identified as Carrie Lathan, who was shot during the attack at the Marathon clothing store that, killed Nipsey Hussle. He's been arrested for his association with Hussle, who was identified as a street gang member. Now, Lathan himself, he was serving 20 years on murder charges. And it says here in the article, and it's misspelled chargers, but I can extrapolate. I mean, I haven't pulled the whatever public records may be available on Kerry Lathan. But however, he's been released after 20 years on murder charges. That's plural. That would seem to be kind of troubling. So 20 years on at least one murder charge, right? And Nipsey reportedly brought him to the Marathon store to freshen up his wardrobe, get him some new clothes, probably get him some basic essentials too, because from what I understand, there's a basic essentials store next to the Marathon store. Socks, underwear, t-shirts, etc. Just basic essentials. So, I'm sure he was outfitting his friend. Very honest, valiant, innocent gesture. However, this is the problem. The issue has to do with being in a probationary status, or rather, correction, a parole status with the state prison system. Apparently, Mr. Lathan was on parole. He was paroled out recently. And as a condition of that parole, as is stipulated, he's not permitted to be around known gang members. Now, it says in the article that police say that Nipsey belonged to the Rolling 60s Crips. And once you get on those types of lists, well, I won't say it takes an act of Congress to get off of them. I don't really know. But there are different categories in which one is placed on such, listing. Affiliate, associate, active, inactive. Whatever term you want to use, there's a link between him and the gang itself. And prior records and data probably would support this. So anyway, Lathan had just been released for serving 20 years. Goes to the shop to be outfitted by his friend, Nipsey. Shots ring out. 3 persons are hit, among which is Nipsey himself, who succumbed at the scene of his injuries, apparently, and Mr. Lathan, who sustained an injury that rendered him paralyzed. And I need to look it up again, but I believe there was a third individual that was shot, or that was uninjured. He escaped with no injuries. However, I believe his name was last name was Villanueva. I just ran across that article the other day, and I believe he was on parole for a bank robbery in Torrance, California. Let me see if I can pull that up for a minute, because I just ran across it. I believe it was heavy.com. So while I'm sitting here, let me see if I can pull that article up, because I just read it the other day. And we'll get into that. Let me see. Let me hit their search. And see what I can find out here because I just read the article the other day. So, man was wounded, was rendered paralyzed, and was has subsequently been placed in custody for a parole violation. And people are pretty upset about it. People are pretty upset about it. There's some backlash because of that. And it is being well, it's been considered that LAPD is being unnecessarily vindictive about it in going after Mr. Lathan, apparently. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Because, well, first of all, it's quite possible that his parole officer may have been the one to assemble a team and go there and pick him up at the halfway house. I don't know. I hadn't pulled up that story either, but if anything, maybe there was a team assembled, an LAPD team assembled, which is not uncommon to do. Any given law enforcement group is actually duty bound and charged to locate active parolees at large. It's just the nature of the business. And broken down to simpler terms, he signed a contract. Mr. Lathan signed a contract stipulating that he would not engage in certain activities, be it at certain locations, etc., with known documented gang members. So at face value, well, he just didn't play by the rules. And as a result, he has to be held accountable for it based on the statutes, based on the charge itself, which is violation of probation. Matter of fact, I can look up the code. I believe it's, I want to say it's section 1203. Let me look it up. Give me a second. I just remembered the code. The code actually is 3056. California Penal Code 3056. And as soon as I'm able to get this together here, I'm going to pull it up for you and read the statute itself. Okay, so I found it. I found the section, the pertinent section here regarding this situation. I need to get this fixed. Yes, I do. Shocking. Okay, California Penal Code Section 3056. It reads the following: California Penal Code 3056, parentheses A, prisoners on parole shall remain under supervision of the department, but shall not be returned to prison except as provided in subsection B or as provided by subsection C or subdivision C of section 3000.09. A parolee awaiting a parole revocation hearing may be housed in a county jail awaiting revocation proceedings. If a parolee is housed in a county jail, he or she shall be housed in the county in which he or she is arrested or the county in which a petition to revoke parole has been filed for. If there is no county jail in that county, in the housing facility with which that county has contracted to house jail facilities, or jail inmates, rather, I'm sorry. Additionally, except as provided by subdivision C of section 3000.09, upon revocation of parole, a parolee may be housed in a county jail for a maximum of 180 days per revocation. When housed in county facilities, parolees shall be under the sole legal authority, sole legal custody and jurisdiction of local county facilities. A parolee shall remain under the sole legal custody and jurisdiction of the local county or local correctional administrator, even if placed in an alternative custody program in lieu of incarceration, including but not limited to work furlough, electronic home detection, work furlough and electronic home detection. When a parolee is under the legal custody and jurisdiction of a county facility awaiting parole revocation proceedings or upon revocation, he or she shall not be under the parole supervision or jurisdiction of the department, unless otherwise serving a period of flash incarceration. That's a term I have not heard of. Flash incarceration, whenever a parolee who is subject to this section has been arrested with or without a warrant or the filing of a petition for revocation with the court may order the release of the parolee from custody under any terms and conditions the court deems appropriate. So it sounds like to me that there might be some chance that he could get released within the 180 days, the way that I'm reading this. When released from the county facility or county alternative custody program, following a period of custody for revocation of parole, or because no violation of parole is found, the parolee shall be returned to the parole supervision of the department for the duration of the parole. Now, just as a reminder, he was placed on parole, released on parole, after serving a 20-year term for murder. And the fact remains that he is now paralyzed. So there might be some likelihood of him being released before the revocation hearing or after the revocation hearing. Who knows? But what's clear is that apparently, given the information that we know and what has been disclosed publicly, that he was in the company of Nipsey Hussle, who was identified as a gang member. I'm still trying to get that information on the other person that was there, the other victim. Let me see. Get my typing together here. It's been a long time since I've typed over, 50 words a minute. So under 3056, under subsection C of that statute, a parolee who is subject to subdivision A, but who is under 18 years of age, may be housed in a facility of. Okay, yeah, that has that's nothing to do with this situation here. He was 56 years old, so he's 56 years old. So now he's currently in the county lockup, pretty much. Okay, here it is. Yeah, he was identified as of 1 day ago as Shermy Villanueva. So Shermy Villanueva, I'll read that article to you. Carrie Lathan and Shermy I need help with the pronunciation here. Servapta. Shermy Servapta, Cervabta, Villanueva, have been identified as the two men who were wounded in the same attack that killed rapper Nipsey Hussle on Sunday afternoon. And they were identified by the LA, looks like City DA's office on April 4th. So they were identified as being there. And Villanueva was shot during a bank robbery in 1992 in Torrance, like I mentioned earlier, Torrance, California. November 1992, when he was 18 years old, and this was reported by the LA Times. He was wounded by a security guard who was an off-duty LAPD officer. It's not uncommon for LAPD officers to do work at banks off duty. So it was a Security Pacific Bank in Torrance, as he and two other hooded gunmen allegedly attempted to commit a robbery. Let's see here, Los Angeles Times. Two other men fled the scene, apparently, according to the Los Angeles Times. Villanueva was later charged with suspicion of armed robbery. And according to his Facebook page, he graduated from Crenshaw High. Let's see here. And it says here, with coverage on the shooting that day, the LAPD said that one of the other men in the incident was being treated at a nearby hospital, and third man declined treatment. No other details of their identities were released. So, I'm trying to see if Villanueva was identified as a gang member. I'm not going to assume. I'm trying to see if it's actually in print here to share with you. So, let's see. Yeah, so I'm not going to really go any further with that, other than to say, because I thought, well, he graduated from Crenshaw High School. That's all it says, and he's affiliated with Nipsey Hussle, but it's not here in this particular article. Let me see if I can run a search and see if there's any publications that might even say, that might even declare that he's involved with, with gang involvement. See if it has any gang involvement here. Let's see. There's a nice timeline here from XXL Magazine. Yeah, his name's all over the place. And I'm not going to assume anything at this point, because anything can happen. So yeah, let me get back to. So I read the code 3056. So he was 3056, violation of parole, right? And let's see what my response to social media here. Somebody raised their hand and said that it's so that is so horrible. Seems like that is something both of them should have known. He should have had it organized so that someone else did the buying, and he quietly sat back and funded it. And even that may have been too much. When you're trying to help someone, that's an easy rule to forget. I'm gonna leave this other stuff out. Yeah, leave this other stuff out. Yeah. So there's people that there's an emotional reaction to this, quite certainly, and it's understandable. There's no dispute at all with that. But the thing of it is, when we're looking at facts, and the facts indicate that he was on parole, and it looks apparent that they were both on parole. It looks apparent to me that they were possibly both on parole. I don't know if Mr. Villanueva has discharged his parole obligation or not. But it would seem to me that it's likely that he too, Mr. Villanueva, was possibly involved in the gang. So either way it goes, whether you're pointing to Nipsey or you're pointing to Mr. Villanueva as being affiliated with the gang, Latham was not supposed to be there. He violated the terms of his parole and was subsequently taken into custody for it. Now, there needs to be a hearing convened on it, and hopefully within the next short while, there'll be a hearing, and maybe there might be some leniency. I don't know. But I have it on good authority that there won't be any leniency granted in this case, given the high-profile nature of it. I have it on good authority, information that I obtained on my own that indicated to me clearly that there may not be any leniency extended to Mr. Latham because he violated, and it's going to be proven that he violated parole. But yeah, here's the timeline. There's a timeline on XXL or whatnot. But again, I'm not going to get into these other theories because they are theories right now as far as this event even taking place. Don't know, I wasn't there, but there are some things that are considered fairly suspicious about it. But we'll have to see what shapes up, how it shapes up, how things go. All right, let me get a few more things together. I'll be right back. So really, what this amounts to is basically a violation of a contract, violation of a standing contract that he made that was contingent upon his being released from prison. So those stipulations were violated, but it has to be proven because he still has a hearing to attend to. The hearing um, to see if parole can actually be revoked or not. So we'll learn more in the coming weeks when this gets on the court docket. So, as best as I could extrapolate today, um, people seem to think that this was a personal vendetta, if you will, against Nipsey Hussle, when in fact it is not. So, it is what it is, folks. The facts are right there to see, and they're readily apparent. So, we'll have to see if the other victim here, who apparently didn't sustain any injuries, from what I understand, if Mr. Villanueva is on parole or probation, it's possible that they might get violated as well. So we'll see. We'll see. A lot remains to be seen about this, and depending on who you tune into, it'll take you down another path, down another rabbit hole, even, if you will, because there's definitely a lot more to this than meets the eye, and it's going to, take some time to really get to, what the actual truth is. And I don't think I'm going to get into that today. I'm going to wait and assemble more information. Hopefully, facts will emerge out of this, and we'll see, and we'll find out. We'll find out more. Hopefully, that's the hope. So for right now, this will do you. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.